This is Why Am I a Mets Fan? A podcast hosted by Samantha Croston and Ashley Wenskoski.
The Mets are headed back to the NLDS for the first time since 2015, baby. Welcome to another episode of the Why Am I a Mets Fan podcast. I'm Samantha Croston. That's Ashley Wenskoski. You know what's up. The Mets won this game 4-2. It was a winner-take-all, and we are so happy to be joining us, whether you've been with us all season or you are a first-time viewer. I'm Sam. This is Ashley. We are sports broadcasters in Syracuse, New York, and we are two Mets fans who have this podcast where we get to talk about all the ups and the downs. Today is a very good day.
Listen, we told you that we were hosting either a funeral or a party tonight. We're hosting a party, and we thought we were about to host a funeral. We're back.
We are so back to the point where we actually brought two little shot glasses. If it's a party, we got to celebrate. Cheers, baby.
Cheers to you guys. Cheers to this podcast. Cheers to the New York Mets.
That's good TV right there. Not to mention, Ashley also brought a chaser. I hope they show her face when she just did that. Okay. Hey, mind you guys also,
that was a little yucky.
We're both off the clock, so calm down.
I was off today.
Ashley's birthday is also in
20 minutes.
20 minutes.
I don't know.
So those are all things that matter. Ashley's friend Lydia is in the background off the screen. Thank you so much for coming, Lydia. We're so happy to have you here. This was honestly one of the strangest, craziest games, okay? We start off scoreless through the first 6 innings. Amazing pitching. Go ahead.
The anxiety that I had. Lydia and I, my friends are in town this weekend for my birthday. We're out at dinner. Luckily, the game is on at the place that we're out at dinner.
Right.
Just the anxiety that I have kind of, you know when you're at dinner and you're like with your friend or your significant other and you're at dinner and you're actively present, but like you're looking over at the TV every 5 seconds?
Yeah.
The anxiety that I had.
I can't even imagine. You guys had to understand, like, me and Ashley not being able to be together for this was a really upsetting moment. The screams that were scrumped, and we didn't get to do them together.
All right. If you know the hop spot in Syracuse, New York, the screams that were scrumped in the hop spot, the bartender came over to me, and he was like, how we doing? How we doing?
Oh, yeah. People were concerned for my safety. I was here tonight. We were anchoring the shows prior to doing this. It was a worrisome time. But I think it was just, I have to say, before we even get into the summary, like, as far as actually just watching a Mets game, this has to be one of the most unbelievable Mets games that I've ever watched in my entire life, Ashley. My whole life.
In our whole life, this has to be top one. I don't know, top one.
Top 2 and it's not 2?
Top 2 and it's not 2. Like, I'm going to show you that's what I was scrolling through to find. I texted my dad, longtime listener, longtime fan. We were texting throughout the game, and I said, this was at 9:26 p.m., right before the magic happened. I said, I'm so depressed. He said, believe.
Are you kidding?
Believe. I'll show the screen. Believe. I said, I can't do this. And 10 p.m., he goes, this team never quits after the Alonso home runs. And then I said, they did it. They really did it.
And you know what's crazy?
Believe.
I mean, I'm not going to say, listen, I'll tell you honestly that I lost hope because I needed to be preparing for the shows at this point. It's getting so close to showtime that I'm essentially writing, it was either the Mets were going to continue on their Magic postseason run or the season was over, and it turns out the Magic ran out. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. I wrote some things like that.
You had it all written. You had the lead. You had the second lead. You had the backup to the backup.
You guys have to understand, like, I needed to prepare for my show. I believe in the Mets, but I needed to get something on TV. Then I see this happen, and honestly, the first time I really felt hope, which sounds crazy to say, but when I saw Pete Alonso, of all people, get up there with a chance to take the lead in the 9th inning, I thought about all the things that people had said about him leading up to this point. I looked at him and I really felt like he physically felt nervous. And still, for some reason, in part because the ESPN infamous probability graphic. Yeah, we'll get into that.
Infamous.
Yeah. Said 17%. And that was my lucky number all throughout college. And I was like, you know what? I think he can do this.
Oh, not the lucky number.
I think he can do this. I know he can do this.
I'll tell you the first time I felt hope. I had no hope when my dad texted me, believe. There was an inning to play. The Mets had 3 outs. We all know how it went down. I did not believe. I can't lie to you. I lost the belief. Francisco Lindor gets up there with that leadoff walk. I felt hope. I felt something. Listen, we got with her. Lydia was right there. And I said, listen, we got the leadoff runner on. Vientos then struck out after that. We don't have to talk about that. But the minute that Lindor walked, there was a chance. Lindor has been the catalyst all year long. He was the catalyst yet again, and he allowed Pete Alonso to have his legacy moment, his franchise moment, the moment that we have all been waiting for all season long from Pete Alonso. I grabbed Lydia's hand and I said, this guy, I just slandered Pete Alonso last night. I'm not going to pretend like I didn't. I said, this guy has not been able to do it all year long. He hits it over the wall, and the scream that I scrumped.
Wait, Lydia's hand is broken.
Lydia's like, what's going on? I'm yelling.
No, but I know what you mean. It was like, this guy.
I couldn't believe my eyes.
This guy couldn't buy a hit since early September. He hadn't had a hit all game. And with one swing of the bat, it's like he cemented his legacy in Mets history forever.
This team, they had 3 outs. And my dad's telling me to believe, and I didn't believe anymore. And I'm not going to cry the tears that I cried when it happened. But this team is seriously something special. I mean, all jokes aside and all of that, all aside, this team and their ability to come back with 3 outs left in this game, unbelievable. They were 0 for, I believe, 21, maybe it was 29, other than Francisco Lindor in this game before that 9th inning. I mean, they turn on a new level when the pressure is high.
When the pressure is on, they perform. And you can't say that about every team. You can't say that about most teams. I'll tell you, through the first 5 innings, Lindor was 2 for 2. Everyone else, 0 for 15. I mean, it was brutal. Like, that is why I think this game felt so electric, is because because you watched it. I know because I was here watching it. Like it was lifeless. It was literally hopeless.
They were dead.
For innings upon innings straight. It was brutal. It was jumping in that ballpark.
The amount of times that this team has been given last rites, it's over, the funerals being planned this year, and they refuse to quit. There is no quit in this team.
The funeral's postponed. We are back on. It's all good. So, and mind you, let's work our way up to it, because I do think it really was crazy. Let's get there. So innings 1 through 6, as I said, scoreless. And a stat that I think is interesting via Sarah Lang, she says she actually had a million heater stats tonight, and we'll get to it. Yeah. Sarah Lang's great, certified great. She said this was the 131st winner-take-all game in postseason history, and just the 4th to be scoreless through 6 innings. So that alone tells you this was a game unlike most winner-take-all games.
My heart palpitations were very serious. I just want you to know that my heart was beating at an abnormal rate.
I was sweating. I literally thought in my head, thank God that the dress I'm wearing is sleeveless, because it wasn't going to be a good situation.
Thank God.
It wasn't going to be good. 7th inning, enter Jose Butto. And the first 2 batters that he faces go back to back. Jake Bauers and Sal Frelick both hit homers. It's 2-0 Milwaukee. To say it was a dark time, to say it was a dull time, I honestly thought that second home run was a replay. It was almost in the same spot. I looked up, I'm like, no.
Now look.
No.
Jose Butto, I know that it was all almost over because of Jose Butto, but he's been so good all season long. I am not, at this time, placing blame on Jose Butto. You can do what you want.
No, and I actually appreciate you saying that, because I feel like normally, you would be the first person to blame X and Y.
Not tonight.
And in a way, I understand where you're coming from, right? I thought that this was still a game that was managed well. To your point, Butto has done well. His final line, brutal. It was literally 0.1 innings pitched, 2 hits, 2 earned runs off 2 homers, and 3 batters faced, which is the minimum that you are allowed to face in MLB. They left him in for 3 batters because they had to, and then they took him out.
And let's give credit to where credit is due. We sat at this same table last night, and we said, Jose Quintana is going to give us what he can, and then it will be David Peterson and Jose Butto. That's exactly what happened. It was Jose Butto first. We didn't get the result that we wanted. Let's give credit to Jose Quintana, because he kept them in this game. This was the start of Jose Quintana's life. We know he's been good in the postseason. He was good tonight. The Mets didn't have it through, 8 innings of play in terms of hitting and offense, and he kept them in this game.
Reverse for a minute. Quintana, 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 5 strikeouts, 0 runs allowed. I love the fact that they kept him in for 6 innings.
Yes.
Most of even the MLB, beat writers and reporters, the normal names and faces like Steve Gelbs and Anthony DiComo, both tweeted, so it must have appeared as though he was out after 5, and he was not. Like, they kept him in because Mendoza wanted to shorten that amount of time for the bullpen, and I really liked that compared to, I gotta be honest, when they took out Myers on the other side, I couldn't believe it.
I know.
5 innings pitched, 2 hits, 5 strikeouts, 0 runs allowed. He was only at 66 pitches. I felt like as long as he was in the game, like the Mets were done. I understand the bullpen for the Brewers is great. I couldn't believe it.
I couldn't believe that Pat Murphy decision either. By the way, a fun fact for you, Pat Murphy, Brewers manager, is from Syracuse, New York. He's in the Syracuse Sports Hall of Fame. Just had to drop that in.
That's so cool.
Just had to drop that in. He's a Syracuse native. Sorry, Pat, that your season ended tonight, but I'm not really that sorry. Anyways, yeah, I saw some tweets, some social media activity prior to this game that said whichever starter gets into the 6th inning tonight is the team that's going to win this game. And I didn't feel like that. I did not feel like that in the 7th, 8th inning. Proved to be true.
It 100% proved to be true. Not to say that the Brewers bullpen collectively did a terrible job. Obviously, we all see how it ended. But yeah, so Quintana, credit where credit's due. We go back to Buto. Yes, the 2 home runs. And at this point, also interesting, he's taken out after 3 batters. Who do they bring in the 7th? But Edwin Diaz.
Give me a beat. When I saw Edwin Diaz in the 7th inning, I texted you. I know I did. I texted a lot of other people that were watching the game. I said, why is Edwin Diaz in this game in the 7th inning? What is going on? Is the world falling? You're losing this game at this point. You're losing 2-0. Carlos Mendoza, risky decision. Like, everything on the table. We are going to bring Edwin Diaz in. We are going to win this game at all costs. We are going to limit the damage to 2 runs. And it worked. It worked yet again. A decision that I'm sitting there being like, why on God's earth would Edwin Diaz be in this game in the 7th inning? You're losing. Mm-hmm. It worked. It worked. And even to the point where I was also texting some people being like, when they scored, when the Alonso home run, when it was 4-2, I said, who are they going to bring in for the 9th now?
I thought that too.
Who's going to pitch? And it was David Peterson, and he got it done.
And he got it done, and not to skip ahead, but Lindor got it done. Cause damn.
Don't start.
Cause damn, that
start
double
with
play,
me.
we'll get there. All right, so we go to the 9th inning, essentially hopeless, just really hoping for any chance of life, any spark.
But it was the top of the order.
And honestly, when I saw that, like they'll put the little graphic coming up, I was like, okay.
I have
3%.
I have a glimmer. I can see a glimmer in the distance.
In the distance,
but I'm not at that point. Like, I'm still feeling bad. Like I said, my dad texted me, believe. I didn't believe.
It was hard to believe at that point. I'm trying to hope, but as we all know how I feel, hope's not a strategy.
Right.
So Lindor gets up there, and for the record, that was a dog alert at bat.
Oh, dog! He got that dog in him.
He got that dog in him. I mean, he battled, and he gets the walk. You mentioned it. There's a strikeout. We're just gonna hop and skip over that. But
Vientos, sorry.
Nimmo gets that single.
When Nimmo hit the single and it's 1st and 3rd, 1 out, there's life. We're back from the dead, baby.
That really, you got to admit, was the first time where you at least like you went from here to
like I sat up in my chair.
My shoulders. I was like, I'll watch.
Now, did I still anticipate Pete Alonso to hit and do a double play? I'm not gonna lie. Yes.
I understand.
When he hit it over the wall, I had an out-of-body experience. I don't know what happened. I blacked out.
It was spiritual. Did we get shot into the sun in that moment?
I got shot into the sun. I go.
Gone. Honestly, just 2 of us in the rocket
it's
ship,
outta here.
just blasting off to the moon. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful 367-foot home run.
I couldn't believe my eyes. I honestly, when it happened, I had a moment where I sat there and I was like, did that really just occur? And if you haven't listened to I was not tonight listening to Howie Rose, but I went back and I saw the clips on social media. If you haven't listened to the Howie Rose call, go listen to it. It'll heal every part of your broken Mets fan soul. It's so good. It's so good.
I can't even imagine. I know. I too was watching it on TV, and mind you, like, this was not a moonshot. I mean, it
barely over the wall.
Boop. Like you literally, I feel like every single Mets fan just slowly stood up. Like, is it gonna make it? Does it have it?
The gasp that I gasped.
It was crazy. It was the exact moment that, again, and I feel like we've said this multiple times this week, but probably now more than ever since we started this podcast. Why am I a Mets fan? Because of a moment like that. And every Mets fan understands that. Like, to say that you went through the 5 stages of grief tonight and beyond would be the understatement of the year.
I texted you that. I said in the 8th inning, and to my sister, I said, I've gone through the 5 stages of grief tonight. I thought it was all over. Pete Alonso erases that with one swing. I want it on the record. I take back every bad thing I've ever said about Pete Alonso. We'll get to contract talks in the offseason, but right now, I love you, Pete Alonso.
I mean, whoa. I even had in the notes, like my first thing in the notes for themes was Alonso looks awful. I literally wrote that down in the 7th inning. Like, when I say the 5 stages of grief, by the 8th inning, I had circled around to acceptance.
She said, Alonso looks awful. Okay, never mind. He's amazing. I'm the worst.
I'm the worst. I'm the worst for even saying that, bro. And honestly, I'm proud of him. I'm happy for him.
Yep.
And it is one thing to just say that, you know, this team finds ways to win and they have come from behind this and that. This was crazy.
Was different.
This was
unheard
of.
Different.
And I'm going to tell you, like, some of the stats that really stuck out to me. And again, this is a credit to Sarah Langs, but I just wanted to kind of talk about it. We discussed the Pete Alonso home run, so I'll just start there. It was the 10th go-ahead home run in the 9th or later. In the 9th inning or later, in a winner-take-all game in postseason history. It was the first of those with his team trailing. The first. Like, he made history tonight. Understand that.
They had 2 outs to work with. 2 outs.
It is absolutely crazy. I just think this is interesting on the Brewers side. 7th team to hit back-to-back home runs in a winner-take-all postseason game. And I also just want to point this out, because if you were here yesterday, you know that my biggest op is the ESPN percentage graphic.
Right.
I don't care. I don't believe in that stuff. I think that anything can happen in sports, and that's why you play the game.
And the best
I
is
will
yet to come.
always think that. And the best is yet to come. Those are my 2 biggest catchphrases. Ashley knows that. At one point, okay, this graphic said that the Mets had a 6% chance to win. So what do you have to say about that?
They had 2 outs and a dream.
They just had 2 outs and a dream.
And a dream. Listen, and we can't underestimate the Alonso home run, obviously, is what won this game, but the Winker insurance run. Listen, the difference in morale that I felt, 3-2 versus 4-2 going into that bottom of the 9th, massive. I didn't know who was going to pitch the bottom of the 9th. Nobody did, because Edwin Diaz had already been out there for 2 innings. David Peterson ended up being that guy, and he got it done. And every credit in every book to Carlos Mendoza for having him available in that spot. But the difference in terms of having that insurance run was so massive, I can't even begin to describe.
It really was. And mind you, this is, again, just one of those kind of odd situations. He gets hit by a pitch. I'm pretty sure there was 2 strikes at that point. The eyes that he gave... Like, did you see him walking to first base? Like,
oh, the Jesse Winker lore and the Jesse Winker, all of that is unbelievable.
He was mean mugging, and I kind of loved it. Boo him all you want.
Listen, I would say I feel bad, but then I'd be lying to the Brewers fans in that stadium. That place turned into a funeral.
Yes.
Like, literally a dead silent funeral.
It was awesome.
The crowd shots, I mean, unbelievable.
It was so cool.
We're playing playoff baseball at Citi Field.
We are playing playoff baseball at Citi Field. Shout out to Citi Field for the watch party idea. That must have been awesome watching it.
I saw some videos of the watch party. It looked unbelievable.
It really did.
And I'm sure that everybody at that watch party was silent. Same thing. Thought it was all over, and then it just erupted. I mean, how cool.
I mean, it's crazy. And listen, obviously, this is something that we have not shied away from since being on this podcast. Like, we know that we're on the younger end of the spectrum as far as Mets fans go. But I'm curious, from some of our older viewers or longtime Mets fans, like, where would you rank this win compared to other wins and postseason wins that you've seen? Because it feels like it would be high for any fan. I feel like your dad even felt that way.
Yeah. Listen, I don't know what's going to happen in Philadelphia. We'll get there. Let me feel joy for one night or even one day until Saturday, game 1. All I know is this team has so much fight in them. They have no quit. And tonight with 2 outs left to get it done is just the perfect example of that. They have yet another hero come to the plate in Pete Alonso. He has not been the hero down the stretch. We haven't shied away from saying that. They get it done once again. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's the stuff of storybooks, literally.
And at this point, I keep on thinking back to what we said a few days ago, how every team that has played the Brewers in the postseason has advanced to the World Series.
Okay.
And that is so freaky and weird. Like, I just cannot believe that. I'm not saying obviously that did not happen again yet, but I cannot believe that under these circumstances, like, imagine being the Brewers
in this economy. Listen,
in this economy.
Everybody who has listened to this podcast for a while knows the weight that Philadelphia holds for me. We'll get there. I'm not going to lie to you all. I am going to say something. We are not going to have an episode after game 1 of the NLDS on Saturday. We will be with you after game 2. It is a big weekend for me. Just cut me a break here for one night. We'll be with you on Sunday night after game 2, whatever happens. But no matter what happens, they made it to Philadelphia, and that's something that you can't take away from this team. I mean, the turn of events tonight is just otherworldly. Like honestly, at the risk of sounding cliche, I'm watching that tonight, and I'm like, this is why you're a Mets fan, and this is why, like, this is sports. This is the beauty of sports.
It brings people together, man. It could bring a whole fan base together. Can we say it yet? Is it 12? Does anyone know? What time is it?
12:08.
Yeah! The reason why she's busy is because it's her birthday weekend. Today is literally her birthday.
All I have to say is the Mets didn't fail me for 1 year on my birthday. The wild card series, the NLDS is in my birthday week every year, and they always fail me. And tonight, I don't need any other birthday presents. That's all I needed.
Aw, happy birthday, yo! No,
Thanks.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I'm so happy that this happened for you. And yes, as per usual, we will keep you guys updated. I'm actually gone for a couple of days next week too, so we will bring you as much content as we can. We'll figure it out because we always find a way.
Thank you guys for being here. We've loved this postseason stretch with you. I think truly the growth that we've seen in the fan base that even we've created here in this small little community has been fantastic.
It really has. Like, thank you guys so much. As always, we say it every episode, but to our new listeners too, we appreciate you guys just taking a chance on two girls with a dream who wanted to start this podcast and talk about sports. And again, we've been lifelong Mets fans. We also were with the Syracuse Mets. So continue to stick with us because this is just the first season. And imagine being us. And this is the first season that we start this podcast.
Is it us?
Is it us? You guys, we didn't start this podcast like 3 weeks ago, if you're just joining us. We started like in May when it was a completely different situation.
And here we are.
And here we are. Final thoughts, and then we'll get out of here.
Final thoughts. I don't know what's going to happen in Philadelphia, but you got to believe. Tyler McGill might be starting that game 1. I don't know, kids, but you got to believe.
You got to believe. I will end on one other stat I thought was interesting. Teams entered today 2-82 when trailing by 2+ runs, when trailing entering the 9th in a winner-take-all postseason game. That number today moves to 3. What?
Carlos Mendoza said, the story of our year, the story of our season. He said a lot else. He said the whole year we've been knocked down, and we find ways to get back up. And they got back up one last time. And we're going to the NLDS. We're going to Philadelphia.
We're going to the NLDS, baby. You can find us anywhere where you get your podcasts, on YouTube, on our social media platforms. It's all the same handle, @YMetsPod. We live to see another day.
Good night.
And we will see you back here soon enough.
Tomorrow night.
Not tomorrow night.
Not tomorrow night. It's a joke.
But soon. Goodbye. That's Ashley. I'm Sam. Thanks for sticking with us.